Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, JC Soto with Online Media 360. Today we have a Chamber of Commerce expert. His name is Christopher Knight, and he's going to tell us about things you never know about the Chamber of Commerce. And we're also going to cover how to take advantage of the Chamber of Commerce now that we have the COVID restrictions and all these social distancing and the rules have changed. Welcome to the show, Christopher.
Well, JC, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm excited to share some knowledge with some of your audience today.
Sounds good. I think we need to talk about the Chamber because the Chamber is a central part of marketing, and it seems like a lot of people join the Chamber and they don't get the full benefit, and it's more of a superficial participation in the Chamber. So I'm glad you're here. And if you can tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about how you got involved in online marketing and this Wild West internet world that we share.
And you're exactly right. It is still the wild, wild West. And you have to be very careful who you are working with along the process. I actually began. I had started 5 different companies over the last 40 some odd years, and the last one that is pertinent to our discussion is, of course, the internet marketing space. And I began actually. It was after I owned a transportation company for almost 20 years, and had done everything. That was back when before there was windows. The only windows were the ones you opened to let the air in, of course. But I was still using the computer to run my transportation company. And then, of course, tragically, I lost my wife. And at that point, I pretty much just kind of decided to, hang it all up with the transportation company and move on somewhere else. But I literally moved on to a close by town, that I certainly had driven through a number of times because the transportation company was a time-critical delivery company. So we were back and forth from there to the airport and everything else, going through that town all the time. But I knew nothing about it. So I decided, okay, I'm going to move there. So I did. And when I moved there, it was quickly apparent, number one, that it was very, very close-knit, almost cliquish kind of old fella group, because the town was about 35, 40,000. So, you get in that group, you've only got probably 5 or 6 people that actually run the whole town, for God's sakes. And everybody else just kind of follows along and goes to Walmart. But, so what I discovered was I had got to move fast to get into this crowd. Now, I'll tell you in the interim there, because of my wife, had multiple sclerosis. So a good deal of the money that we had saved up over 20 years was gone, because of the things that had to be done with her illness. So I rolled in with very little money, didn't know a soul. And in fact, I had worked off a desktop and I didn't even have a laptop computer. Now, again, you've got to think about this 16 years ago. So a laptop was a pretty big deal.
It's a luxury back then, probably.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, there was hardly a cell phone, but here we go. So I said, all right, I've got to get this, I've got to get that. So I got a few things, and I said, all right, now I've got to make contacts. So somehow I bumped into a fellow who said, hey, why don't you join me at this after hours chamber event? And I said, okay. And, I didn't have anything else to do because my business hadn't really begun yet. And so we went over, and it was part of a company, companies hold these after hours events. And so I walked in the door and I looked around and I said, my gosh, here are where all my clients are. And then after that, I never looked back from the time I walked in that door, because I never had to look for a client again. And I'm serious. I did not. I got involved.
And that was how long ago was that? That was
16 years ago.
16 years ago now.
Yeah, 16 years ago. And nothing's changed since then except for COVID, of course, which I know we'll talk about. But that being said, I got involved with the chamber by doing what I call working from the inside out. Now, that simply means actually getting involved with the chamber, getting visibility with the chamber being your credibility, and then moving it out from the chamber out into the community. That is the strongest thing that anyone can do. Now, the visibility means very simply being noticed by the influencers. Now, every organization you've got, I don't care if it's Rotary or Lions or anything else, they've got the influencers, again, that have been there forever, right? And the chamber's no different at all. So I said, all right, how do I get to know these people and get my face out there? And so the first thing I did was I picked 3 people that I knew were pretty much on top of it. They had a handle on it, and everybody knew them, and they all were, it's kind of one of those, if they stand over against the wall in a networking event, people came to them. They didn't go to them, to the other people. Other people came to them. I said, okay, I've spotted 3 of you guys. And what I did was something very unique, and that is I went to them during some of these meetings, and I simply said to them, I'm new to the chamber, and I'm new to town, and I really want to serve not only the chamber, but I want to serve the community. And I know that you're very involved in it. Would you mind if I dropped by your office for about 15 minutes and have you tell me about the community? Because I need to know about the community. Well, of course, what I did was I complimented them because of their knowledge. I made them feel special because of their relationships throughout the community. And not one ever said no. Now, the trick is go to their office. And now we're talking pre-COVID, and COVID's going to be over, so these tips are still good. Okay, guys? But go to their office because that's their home turf. Don't meet at a coffee shop. Don't do those kind of things. Go to their office. And when I did do that and just started asking a few brief questions, I never got out of their office under an hour and 15 minutes, even though I'd asked for 15 minutes, because they wanted to tell me everything.
And also you have the undivided attention. You have them kind of a corner there all to yourself.
Absolutely. It was just one-on-one. There's nothing else to distract them. And of course, one of the 3 influencers, and of course after that, I'll tell this, but one of the influencers was very much involved in volunteer work in the community. And before I walked out, I'd already volunteered myself for one of his organizations. So I had more things going on, which is fine because nonprofits are a beautiful way to increase your visibility and your credibility in any community. I don't know what community you're in at all. And I don't care if it's an organization for the elderly. I don't care if it's a food bank. I don't care what it is. I was actually part of 4 different ones. The ones I can remember was a breast cancer organization. Another was a battered woman's organization. Another was for the elderly. And with my agency, I began doing work for them that they needed, like trifold brochures or for the breast cancer. I built their entire fundraising website. Did I charge them? No. Why? Because the benefits well outweighed whatever it cost me to do that work on their behalf. And I've forgotten what else I was going to say, so we'll let it go on from there.
That sounds like a really, you look at it from a perspective that, you build the relationship first. From,
Yes.
anytime you start from the basics instead of expecting somebody to endorse you or give you their business. You start building that relationship, which should be step 1, even online right now, that sometimes we look at it that it's so difficult, but building that relationship is what you did back then, and it worked beautifully.
Well, I believe that we are in the people business. That's what we're in. And I think the thing I was going to mention from the influencers was when I would go to a networking event, all of these influencers knew me. I mean, they knew me personally. They knew me by name. they'd, say hi and so forth as they walked in the door. And that even got around to the mayor of the city. I mean, every time she walked in the door, she'd come over and say hi. I mean, it really built upon itself. But, because those influences were there, I made it a point to do one other thing in networking. And networking, people go in and they think, I've got to hand out a bunch of cards and then I've got to tell my story to 20 different people. And that is an absolute bunch of nonsense. You want to go in and develop relationships with at least 2 or 3 people for that entire hour and a half that networking is going. You don't want to hand your card out to anybody. You want to develop a relationship. Now, I was fortunate because I had taken those steps with the influencers, and I would take people over to the influencer and introduce them. And I walk up and they'd always say, "Hey, Christopher, how you doing?" And I say, "Great. I'd like you to meet Peter here. He's got a new framing shop, and I think he's got a good thing going. And just wanted you 2 guys to meet." Now, what did that do? Number one, it showed the influencer that I had respect for him. Number 2, it showed the person I introduced to him that they had respect for me because I knew that person. So it's all a relationship business. Sometimes in marketing, we call it a link wheel, where you build links to your site and this link, that link, that link. Same thing in this. Build your links, which means your people and your relationships, and focus them in on certain areas. Now, I'll have to say that's the rapid technique. I call it when you first get involved with the chamber. That's the rapid start technique. So I think anyone that's part of a chamber, and I've heard this, I took on the job of the very first recruiter my chamber had ever had. And that was when I was starting my company. They had heard me on the phone. I was using the chamber office for the Downtown Association, which I had joined. Okay, not the chamber, the Downtown Association. And I was selling tickets for the Christmas gala that was coming up. And they allowed me to use the chamber office to make my calls and things like that. Well, that office had to be right next door to the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. Of course, he could hear everything I was doing. But it certainly wasn't a acoustically sound office room. And about 4 weeks after that, I got a call from the Chamber of Commerce and said, Chris, we'd like to meet with you tomorrow. Are you available? And I'm thinking, what did I do wrong now? I said, well, sure, I'll come by. And when I sat down with them, what they had is they had received permission from the board of directors to hire, and I put that word loosely because the money wasn't really that good, to hire a recruiter for the Chamber of Commerce. And I went, sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I'm in. And what happened then was went out to recruit a chamber member. We sat and talked about the chamber because we always set an appointment to do this. It wasn't a drop-in thing. But I walked in with the credibility of the Chamber of Commerce with a big sign on my back. Hey, I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce and I'm here to talk to you about the chamber. But what did I do the last 15 minutes of that conversation? I sold my business.
Exactly. You had access.
I had access and credibility. And it was a warm, hot call, not a cold call.
Exactly.
And with that, I would simply say, I'd tell them a little bit about my business and I'd say, I don't really know if I can help you or not, but I'd really like to try. But I need to talk to you a little bit more. What's your availability like next Tuesday? Now I'm telling you the truth. This isn't all sales hype at all. And, they may say Wednesday's better or whatever, but I had an 85% appointment ratio off of using that technique while I was recruiting for the Chamber of Commerce. And that year, I recruited 127 people to the Chamber of Commerce, even though I was starting my business. So can you think of a better way to get contacts and get clients?
Oh, definitely. And they have the guard is down when you come to talk about the chamber. You have direct access. So now, in your experience, is that the same way that most business owners look at the Chamber of Commerce?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. when I was doing the recruiting, I heard constantly, well, yeah, I was part of the chamber 3 or 4 years ago. And really, I didn't get my money's worth out of it. And so, I'm not sure that I want to get back involved with it. But what that simply meant was they had to learn how to work from the inside out. They hadn't given any time or effort to actually gaining visibility and exposure that they could get for their company. And it always amazed me. I would shake my head, and when I got the real stubborn one that just wouldn't budge at all, I didn't shake my head in front of them, of course, but after I walked out, I shook my head and said, this guy just does not get it. This is the dynamite way. I call it never having to look for a prospect again, or never struggle to find a prospect again, because they're all right in front of you.
Exactly. They're locally in your community. They're right here.
Right. And if we're, as digital marketers, I don't want to go around knocking on doors. I don't want to send out cold emails. I don't want to get on the phone and call somebody. I want to walk in with them knowing who I am and knowing what I'm doing in the community and having that credibility. I keep going back to the word credibility because it's so important to a business to have credibility. You may not have an office downtown, but they don't care because they see you at the chamber office.
Exactly.
Or they see you at a chamber event. Or they see you working and serving food at a luncheon. Put on an apron, and serve the food so everybody walks by, you're able to say hi to. Always be in front of the action. There wasn't an educational group within the chamber, because chambers like to pass on and educate their members in their businesses. And there wasn't one, and I decided, well, let's try to set something up once a month on a different topic and ask various chamber members to teach those various areas, right? So we're using chamber members. Once in a while, we'd have a specialist come in from somewhere else. And after a while, we ended up, after a year of it, we really upped our game and got a room to do it. And we did it in the morning. It was always like a 8 o'clock opening, or 7 o'clock opening, actually. But you get there early and the chamber had to deal with, let's see, Popeye's chicken. So we had chicken sandwiches and we had all kinds of stuff, and we had fruit, and we had, coffee and punch. And so when they walked in, they had their breakfast and then sit down and listen to the presentation. We probably always had 50, 60, 100 people at the educational meetings, but everyone enjoyed it. And there again, I was in front of the crowd. I was the one that set it up. I was the one that headed to the committee that set it up. The chairman of the committee. Invent things for yourself. Invent committees that the chamber needs, that you can see they need, and become the chairman of that committee. Because committees, you develop great friends on a committee.
Yeah. And you establish that trust. That trust established and credibility established right there in that spot also.
Exactly. And with that, you're working together with somebody. You don't have to jump on a bunch of committees. I even warn the newbies, so to speak, find a committee that only meets like for 3 months, during the year. Don't jump on that committee that has to meet all year just for one huge occasion that's going on.
Yeah.
Jump in and jump out every year about 3 months and say hi to everybody, But you've done your deal. You've done your deal right there.
Exactly. Now, how do you see the Chamber of Commerce being used now with the COVID restrictions?
Well, they have, many of them have gone through extremely hard times. I know of several chambers that have actually closed their doors because they simply didn't know how to handle this kind of environment. I also, on the other hand, know of chambers that were ready and jumped into a virtual side. Each of their meetings, I'll give you one example that in Oregon, very, very talented executive director out there. Their lockdown started on a Tuesday in Beaverton, Oregon. And the lockdown started on a Tuesday. and they had a regular Friday coffee time on Friday. They were already ready virtually to take it on, and they handled everything on their calendar by virtual events, except for they have what they call leadership groups in the chamber, which means your young entrepreneurs and young business people come in, and over like an 8-9 month period, they see what's in the community, but they have to get out in the community to do that. So you can't do that virtually. But that was the only thing on their calendar they did not do. After talking with them about that, then I decided, well, yeah, I had several chambers that I certainly had a relationship with, so I contacted them and ended up consulting. But I look around and I see so many that weren't able to keep their membership rolls rolling, to keep the money coming in, and it pretty much killed them. There'll be a few that'll come back. I'm sure they'll come back, but some of them the doors are closed permanently for right now.
Yeah, many have been shut down for good, that's for sure. Now, you gave us a great tip of building relationships. Can you give my listeners a couple more tips of how to really utilize the Chamber of Commerce? Not even now, but like you said, they're coming back. Some of them will come back, and we'll have the chance again to network, hopefully face to face. So can you give us a couple more tips on how to do that in the future?
Well, I feel like, of course, there are all kinds of civic groups, and there are all kinds of quote networking groups. And many people mistake the Chamber of Commerce as a networking group. And of course it is. Yeah, certainly it is. But it's not like a BNI, and it's not like some of the other associations that have cropped up here and there for networking, because that's their sole purpose. The Chamber has a larger purpose, and that is the community.
Community purpose, yes.
And so the way that you make those relationships is you make sure that you're in touch with as many people in the community as possible. You're not worried about necessarily, they may never do business with you at all, but you want to get to know them. You want to get to know their business. Why? Because they then know what you do. You know what they do. And if someone knows what you do, even though they don't need your services, what are they likely to do when someone says, I need this?
Those referrals are worth gold.
That's it. Total referrals right there. And that's the essence of those relationships. Do not go into it expecting them to do business with you. Go into it just expecting to make a good friend and a good relationship with that person. So you can call them anytime. If you've got something going on, maybe it's a nonprofit, and you say, hey, Charlie, listen, I need you over. Can you help us out? You know, whatever business he might have. And he's not only going to answer the phone, but at least he's not going to, hang up on you, right? Of course he's not going to, because he knows you. He said, oh, Chris, is that, I don't know. I said, well, here's all you have to do. And he explained it. And usually, they come around and boom, you got a donation or whatever going on. But we are in the people business, period. And you have to know that going in, and use it throughout the community. That is probably the biggest tip I can give anyone in that regard.
That's a good one. Now, let's talk about you. Give us something that you learned years back, maybe when you were a kid, that you still use today, either in life or business, something that stuck with you all this while and you still apply today.
See there, you really come on strong, JC. Right.
Well, you got to know who Christopher Knight is.
Well, I think probably the one thing I've carried through life is not judging anybody. When I was in high school, it's most high schools, we had the wild ones, and we had the geeks, and we had the this and that. It's all categorized, right? But even in high school, I talked to everybody. I associated with everybody. It didn't matter who they were or what they did or anything else. And I carried that through college, and then, of course, into the after college days. I had a little break after I got done with college. I had to go visit with Uncle Sam for 2 years and go overseas to a country that starts with a V. But anyway, all that being said, when I got back, I realized that at that point, actually, I was teaching. And I got back and I realized I wasn't making enough money to support my family, right? So let's think about something else. So I got into sales and I learned once again, treat everyone the same. Don't think that someone's above you or below you either. Both are the same. Everyone's on the same level. If you go at anyone, let's say in business, for example, it's like the influencers I mentioned. It's going in and talking to them. What's the old statement? They put their pants on the same way I do. And so I never thought anybody was above or below me. I put us all on the same level. And I carry that all the way through. But starting 5 businesses, you've got to have a little bit more than that. And I call that the most important thing any business owner must know is 2 words. And that is no fear. You have to plow ahead, trust your gut, and do it without the fear of success or the fear of failure. No fear are the 2 key words that I live by.
No fear. I like that. You just plow ahead and just adjust as you go.
That's right.
That's the best way to do it. And if somebody wants to contact you, what's the best way to do that, Christopher?
Well, the best way right now, of course, is for this particular purpose, is the group that I have. It's called Local Chamber Influencers. We just crossed over 600 members here this last week. And we teach everything you might need to know about how to make the Chamber of Commerce your number 1 business partner. But we do a lot more than that, too. I know that it's great to, especially in digital marketing, it's great to be in there and have the clients. What do you do with the clients? So we also put on 4-day workshops, 4-day boot camps and things that show them very, very special products that I'm very careful before I expose to my group to make sure it is a good product for them to use. But we do a lot of that as well. So there's a lot of training there that people can access. In fact, there's training in the unit section that has hundreds and hundreds of past training videos that they can access and learn about the Chamber of Commerce specifically. So please come over and join me. Be happy to have all of you.
And what's the name again of the group?
Local Chamber Influencers.
All righty, good. Any emails that you want to leave with my listeners? Anything else that, any last minute advice?
Last minute advice? My last email, of course, you can always message me if you go to the Local Chamber Influencers group. So I'm on Facebook Messenger all the time. My email gets looked at maybe once or twice a day, but Messenger is always on.
It's always on.
The only final advice I have is do not look at the Chamber of Commerce as a way that you're going to increase your business. They're going to increase your business because the Chamber isn't there to build your business. They're there to help you, but they're not there to build it for you. So take advantage of everything they have to offer and build it through relationships. That's the advice I would have for folks.
That's a great advice. Build relationships and contribute your time and contribute your expertise and be a contributor more than just going with the mentality of taking and build a business, providing any service and value to them.
Do we have time for one more tip?
Sure. Yes, we do.
This is something that also helped a great deal. All chambers of commerce have ribbon cuttings and grand openings, and they always have some members of the chamber that go to these events, which are sometimes maybe 5 or 8 a month that are put on the chamber calendar. And what I always assumed those were appointments. They weren't ribbon cuttings. They weren't grand openings. Those were business appointments. So I put them on my calendar just like I would if I were meeting with somebody that I'd set a firm appointment with. And here's the secret to it. And we said tips and secrets, so I'm going to throw another one out to you. If you go to a ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce, that means you may have 10, 12, 20 chamber members there, and the business that's having their ribbon cutting is usually they provide some snacks, cups of coffee, whatever. It's never, a big deal, but you go in and you certainly introduce yourself to the owner who's having the event as you would anyway. But as the old statement goes, never be the last one to leave the party. That's the no wise information actually. But in this case, you want to be close to the last one to leave the party. As the chamber members start thinning out, and maybe there's one or two left, you go back over to that owner and congratulate him again on his grand opening and all the things that are going up. And then I would use the same appointment getting technique that I used when I was doing the sales on the new members. And that was, here's what I do. I'd ask him, how are you planning on getting people through the door? Or what do you got plans as far as your advertising? Because I'd always shut down this advertising, newspaper, radio, and they go, wait, stop there. And it gave me a chance. He always gave me time to talk to him. Why? Because I had been there and honored him to be at his ribbon cutting. The other why is I was part of the Chamber of Commerce. I had that credibility behind me. And the third thing is he actually probably wanted some advice because he's brand new. He's just cut the ribbon and opened the doors. And so he's looking for ideas. He hasn't been barraged already by people walking in his door with 1,000 different things. He's probably looking for some true helpful advice. So there's another tip for you if you, as a member of the Chamber of Commerce, make those events appointments, sales appointments.
That's a really good one because people look at those ribbon cutting events as something that it just stop by and take off as soon as it's over. They don't really make it strategic to go over there and make it an appointment engagement instead of just stopping by, say hello, and just split after that. That's really good. So, Christopher, I really appreciate your time. These are really, really great tips. There's a lot of information that we really don't hear about it. Even the people that join this chamber as members never get this deep insight into how to use the chamber effectively. Thank you very much.
Well, it's my pleasure, JC. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you. And to my listeners, all his links are going to be just below the recording. And this is JC with Online Media 360. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.